ego states. We all have these different ego states that we enter into whenever we do something. Whenever you do any activity, one of these ego states comes out to basically run the show, run your body. We call it taking the executive. It basically control the body, and this is where your memories come from, all your resources that you have come out at this time. Like the version of me that comes out when I play drums is different than the version of me that sits and watches TV, versus the version of me that drives my car, versus the version of me that has a conversation with my parents, versus the version of me that spends time with my mate. When you get in front of all these different people, you put up different walls of protection, parts of you that protect certain parts of you that the people that you're around typically, create certain kinds of trauma within you. They push certain buttons and stuff. And so the version of you that comes out, that's hanging out with a certain person, can change depending on how the conversation changes and which buttons they push on you, if you are not in control of your own emotional states. If you haven't resolved the trauma that's behind the buttons that they push, you're always going to react that way when they push that button until you resolve that trauma. And that's going to happen time after time after time. So we have these different ego states that come out. And what these ego states are doing is they're protecting the inner you. And so some kind of trauma came along and it injured you. So kind of like an arrow, it came in and it hit you right there, right? So there's your injury. And so you put up a shielding right there. And that piece of shield represents a personality that you have. Now, you don't know that you change these personalities at all. Most of the time, you're unaware of this happening. And most people will be unaware of it happening because you'll be just that different person when you're with them, and you'll be always that same person when you're with them, and you'll have the same kind of reactions and stuff because they'll always push those same buttons and stuff. So each of us has all these different ego states, and it could be up to, say, 150 or so of them. And the majority of them are all connected and remember each other. I'm sure that a lot of us, I can remember sometimes that, you go into some kind of a rage or you get really drunk or something like that. And then that personality, whatever was happening in that time, you can't remember that when you're in your regular states. And, so some of that happens, and it depends on how traumatic something is. But, it's normal and healthy activity for us to have this. This is all stuff that comes from guys like Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, and they all agree that we have these shattered personalities, and every time some kind of event, some kind of trauma happens, we create a new one of these personalities. And then when we re-suffer that same kind of trauma, whenever we're presented with that, then that same personality comes out at the same age as when it was created and acts that same way. So if you get angry and throw a tantrum or something like that, and it happened when you're like 4 years old the first time, well, 4-year-old you is coming out to play. That's just the way it is. So we all have these personalities, and you can clean them up. And hypnosis is a great way to clean up all these different personalities so that when somebody comes out and they start pushing your buttons, you're in control because you've resolved all that stuff. And now you don't need to protect that aspect of yourself because you're healed. You're a healed person. So that gives you control and empowerment. And the hypnosis that I utilize can really get you into a state where you just release that stuff and you let it go. It's just one session and you come out a completely different person. Go to my website, jeffbroomfield.com, and learn more about what I have to offer there. So if you're ready to change your life, go to my website, jeffbroomfield.com. Thanks for tuning in. Stay awesome and have a good one.